working. Thank you. Good evening, members, and welcome to this evening's meeting of Full Council. I am Councillor Diana Garrett, Chairman of the Council, and I will be chairing the meeting this evening. This meeting is being broadcast through the Council's Public Eye portal. I'd like to welcome all those in attendance and those watching the meeting virtually. This meeting is scheduled for 3 hours. I would be grateful if everyone could ensure that they keep their speeches concise and to the issue being considered. If members wish to speak this evening, please could you indicate by clearly raising your hand. We are not expecting a fire alarm. However, in the event of an alarm, please leave via the fire exits and assemble in the car park. Can I also remind everyone to ensure they have their mobile phones switched to silent. I will now proceed to the first item of business, agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I've received apologies for absence from the following councillors: Councillor Mark Alt, Councillor Joe Beavis, Councillor Lynn Williams and Councillor Iona Parker. Are there... Councillor Lynn Walters. Are there any further apologies to note? No, thank you, members. We will proceed to agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Do members have any disclosable pecuniary interest or other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest they wish to declare this evening? If so, please could you state the item and the nature of your interest? Councillor Schweer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to declare that I'm a member of Essex County Council should it come up in conversations tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Butland.
And exactly the same, Madam Chairman, a member of Essex County Council.
Councillor Cunningham.
Same for me, please, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
And the same for me, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thorogood.
And the same for me.
Any more? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah. Also, member of Whitton Town Council, just in case any issues arise.
Thank you. Are there any further interests at all? No? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, members. We will proceed to agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting of Full Council. I would like to confirm that we are asking members to approve the minutes of the annual general meeting of Full Council, which have been circulated to all members and published on the Council's website. We have been told of 2 minor typos, and these will be corrected by officers. Please, can I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record of the AGM held on the 25th of May 2023? Thank you, Councillor Butland.
Second, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Cunningham has seconded. Thank you. The minutes have been moved and seconded as an accurate record. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you. I believe that's unanimous. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll now sign the minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, members, for waiting whilst I signed the minutes. The next item of business on the agenda is public question time. However, I'm advised that we have no registered speakers this evening, so I'll move on to agenda item 5, announcements and statements from the Chairman and Leader of the Council. Since my appointment at the AGM, I'm pleased to announce I've attended a total of 15 engagements and hosted my first civic event to celebrate armed forces. It was wonderful to meet our local veterans, hear their stories over a cup of tea and remember those who are no longer with us. Some other highlights include a tour of Braintree Museum and the Textile Archive, which was most interesting, and judging cakes at the Intercare Home Bake-Off. The Vice Chairman kindly accompanied me to the bake-off. Our wonderful NHS recently celebrated its 75th birthday, and I attended Braintree Community Hospital to join their celebrations, meet the staff and receive a tour of the hospital. I'm really enjoying getting out in the Braintree community, and I'm looking forward to attending many more engagements throughout my year as chairman. The full list of engagements are listed. I won't go through all of those. I'm not going to go through all of those this evening. I would now like to invite Councillor Graham Butland, leader of the council, to make any announcements. Councillor Butland.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to make a statement about Wethersfield Air Base so that members are completely up to date with what the situation is. Madam Chairman, you'll be aware that on Friday we received the judgment for the Council's Judicial Review Permission hearing, which was heard at the High Court last week on the 12th and 13th of July. This challenge was on 8 grounds, which included a challenge to the Home Office on the need for planning permission to have been obtained, known as Class Q, and the Home Office failure to take a range of matters into account as part of their decision-making process to use the site for accommodation of up to 1,700 asylum seekers, including conflict with the local plan, healthcare, traffic implications and wastewater. The challenge was also heard alongside the other judicial review applications from West Lindsey District Council for the RAF Scampton site and a resident from Wethersfield. Madam Chairman, we are pleased that Mrs Justice Thornton granted us permission to proceed with our judicial review on the following challenges. 1, the Environmental Impact Assessment Direction. Secondly, reliance by the Home Office on the use of permitted development rights, Class Q. And third, the Equality Impact Assessment Challenge. We are grateful to have another opportunity to put our views and the views of our local community across to the High Court at this initial stage, as we still believe Wethersfield Airfield is not a suitable site for these plans. The case will now proceed to a final hearing, which will be over 2 days. This will be the Council's opportunity to formally present its challenge under the grounds on which we have been granted permission, and will allow for evidence to be presented in the High Court. The final hearing will be subject to the Court's normal case management process, and at this stage we do not know when the matter will be listed for a final hearing, but we will update residents and members as soon as we know more. Madam Chairman, the total cost to the Council to date for both the injunction and the appeal legal proceedings are £172,365. This includes costs awarded to the Home Office and the MOD. Costs relating to the judicial review will be determined at the outcome of the judicial review hearing. We continue to monitor the costs involved as part of the legal proceedings and will seek to recover the costs of the judicial review at the end of the proceedings if we are successful. This legal proceeding, Madam Chairman, does not stop the Home Office from utilising the site to house asylum seekers. And in the meantime, and we are aware that an initial group of 46 individuals moved onto the site last week, and more are expected over the coming weeks. We know this development in the Home Office's plans has raised concerns and questions from the local community. The Home Office has informed us and partners that they will continue to monitor the situation and to ensure the site is running smoothly and safely. Council officers will continue to work closely with the Home Office and multi-agency partners to ensure that there is minimal impact on all those involved residents that live nearby and on local services, as well as raising concerns with the Home Office so it can put in place mitigating action whilst supporting asylum seekers coming to our district. We feel there are still many pressing matters that need to be addressed by the Home Office, and which I set out in an open letter to Robert Jenrick last week, which I copied to all members, including the lack of community engagement and the funding criteria. We will continue to push for clarification on these points. Madam Chairman, finally, I want to use the opportunity tonight to thank all those officers who have worked so hard behind the scenes to continue pushing for more information and engagement with the community, and for the support of all members, parish councillors, residents, community groups and local MPs. If it was not for the dedicated hard work of our officers here, and I'm going to particularly name Kim Cole, who has led the relationship that we've had with our KC, Lauren Whiffen, who has so expertly handled the huge amount of press and television inquiries we've had, and also to Dan Gascoigne, our CEO, for very kindly stepping in to me last Friday when, as I said in one thing, as we gave one in the eye to the Home Office, unfortunately I was having one in the eye with a cataract operation, and he very kindly and very ably stood in on the various requests for interviews. That, Madam Chairman, I think puts the situation where we are. I think we've been very open about that. Clearly now we await the judicial review itself, and if anything happens in between time, I will continue to update members on a regular basis, as I believe I've done so far. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Butland, for that update. Members, we move into the next item of business, agenda item 6, questions to the Leader and Cabinet. Members, before we commence this item, please can I remind members that at the AGM we agreed amendments to the Council procedural rules for this item, which are set out in the Constitution. As this is our first meeting operating under the new rules to assist with this item, I will remind members of how this item will operate. I do not intend to do this at each meeting, and I think it would be beneficial for the smooth running of this item. All members are able to ask questions of the Leader and the Cabinet on matters which relate to the functions of the Leader, the Cabinet, the powers and duties of the Council, or matters pertaining to the district which have taken place since the last meeting of full Council held on the 20th of March 2023. All members may only ask one question, and in line with the process, the first question would normally commence with Councillor Beavis as Leader of the Opposition. However, in view of her apologies given this evening, I will invite Councillor Abbott as Deputy Leader of that group to ask his question first. The order of the remaining questions will be at my discretion. Questions must be succinct and cannot be asked in parts, and supplementary questions are not permitted. Members may not make statement before asking their questions. Replies to questions may take the following form: a response from the Leader or the relevant Cabinet member, or a member may be directed to a relevant publication if the response is in a published document. If a response cannot be given this evening, a written answer will be issued to the member asking the question and circulated to all members within 10 working days of the meeting. We have 30 minutes for this item, which will commence with the first question. I will shortly be inviting Councillor Abbott if he has a question. Before I do, please can all members wishing to ask a question this evening indicate by raising your hand now. Keep your hand raised until acknowledged. My apologies that took so long, everybody. Thank you, members. Councillor Abbott, do you have a question this evening? If you have, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, my question is to the administration member who has oversight of the complaint system in terms of complaints in respect of elected members. Is that member aware that the current policy as set out on the website is nearly a decade old, and that the policy contains criteria for dealing with complaints within a certain period, addressing issues within certain periods of time, and for dealing with complaints overall in a timely way? Would that member agree that it's important that complaints are not left for months or even, in some cases, years?
Madam Chairman, I'll rise to answer that and thank Councillor Abbott for his question. Forgive me, there's a little bit of internal ambiguity whether that's actually a governance issue or customer service, but actually I will answer it as a customer service point of question. And I will look into the comments that he has raised and I will give him a full written response and thank him for his question this evening.
Councillor Martin, would you like to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question relates to grass cutting. We've been inundated with residents' concerns about this. Now, we all know about No Mow May, but I think the council's taken it to extremes, really, because we've had no grass cutting, it seems like, this spring. And it's okay where you've got a big park or the Riverwalk where you have certain sections of it that aren't mowed and then there's plenty of open space for everyone, that's fine. But the open spaces I'm talking about is on housing estates. Now we've got a lot of concrete jungles in Witham where they haven't got much open space at all, it's all concrete. And so any little bit of open space is very precious to the residents. And so by not cutting the grass at all this spring and summer, you're taking away that open space for people to use near where they live. So this means that there's nowhere for children to play near where they live. And it's impossible to clear up dogs' mess and broken glass. So there's nowhere to walk your dogs or for the children to play, and it's a real health and safety issue.
Okay, have you nearly finished? Questions need to be concise under this item. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I'll take that question again as it's relating to operations, and I thank Councillor Martin for a question. I welcome her back to her place. With regard to the point she raises, I would have to check whether the space she refers to is actually with the responsibility of Braintree District Council. It may well be Eastlight, having transferred to Greenfields and now Eastlight when the community housing stock was handed over some years ago. Yes, we have had to change our operational approach to grass cutting. We are not able to cut as often as we used to, purely by cost. We've also changed our mowers, I think, from cylinder to rotary, again, for a cost saving, but in order to ensure a certain level of service is still given. If she's able to furnish me with the exact details, perhaps by dropping me an email, I'll get her a full response to her as soon as possible. And thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. We move to Councillor Holland, please, for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question relates to the cumulative impact of the energy industry developments within this district. Can the Cabinet Member for Planning say what this Council's response will be to the latest consultation on the Norwich to Tilbury National Grid scheme, which, as things stand, involves running pylons across miles of our countryside? And linked to this, the cumulative impact of the following project. Is Braintree District Council aware of National Grid's proposed Butlers Wood Green Energy Centre project, which is to be located at the recently consented substation site in the north of the district? The project is listed in National Grid's Tech Register of Connection Agreements for delivery by 2031. The agreement is for over 1 gigawatt of solar generation and battery storage. Such a development would involve over 2,500 acres of solar panels and 40 acres of grid's battery storage, all located within 11 kilometres of the substation site. Local landowners have already been approached by developers seeking to lease 40 acres for the battery storage.
Councillor Holland, I'm going to ask you to
Last sentence.
ask your question, please.
As such, this project could have the greatest single impact on rural areas of any development seen here. We therefore seek to find out whether Braintree District Council and the portfolio holder is aware of this project and its role in the potential cumulative impact of all of the energy sector's developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holland. Councillor Spray.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank Councillor Holland for his question. I think probably most members will be aware of the Norwich to Tilbury scheme, formerly known as East Anglia Green. It has been and continues to be very well publicised. This council acknowledges that the upgrade to the electricity from Norfolk down to London is needed. That's not the issue. We accept that. The problem is the way that National Grid want to bring about the upgrade, which, as Councillor Holland says at the moment, involves pylons, hundreds of pylons across miles of East Anglia countryside, because it's not just our county and our district that's involved, although we will be severely impacted. The current consultation, which started at the end of June and runs until the 21st of August, does not include an option for running cables undersea, which is something that I and many others think should at least be a consideration. I think quite unusually, Chairman, there is considerable unanimity amongst East Anglia's MPs, including our own two, Priti Patel and James Cleverly, and all the county and district councils. There is going to be, at the moment, a proposal to underground some cables, particularly in the sensitive areas like Devon Vale, but even that is not without its problems. And I do think it's a mistake on the part of National Grid not to at least consider the option of running cables undersea. I don't know if members heard this morning there was an interview on BBC Radio 4's Today programme about 7:20 this morning with one of the directors from National Grid, Zach Richardson, together with the campaigning environmentalist Rosie Pearson. Now, Chairman, Mrs Pearson and I do not see eye to eye on many things, including where housing should go in this district, but actually did agree with several points she made in this interview this morning, one of which is that this is not something new that we're suggesting. Cables are already running under the North Sea and indeed along our coastline. And it really should not be beyond the wit of any of us, and particularly National Grid, to at least consider the option. Mr Richardson's response was that they are following government guidelines. Well, actually, I think the guidelines are that pylons are one option, but they're not the only option. And he then finished up with and anyway, it's all too expensive to do it undersea argument, which is something that National Grid are using. I say, let's have a full consultation, let's look into this, and then we can make up our minds about it. Finally, on the Butlers Wood scheme, this is a very, very early days proposal. I'm not aware at the moment that it's either going to be a planning application, which if it is, it will then be considered and members will have a chance to have their input and it will go down the normal planning route, or whether it's going to be an NSIP, a nationally significant project, in which case this council will be a consultee and we will deal with it in the same way that we are responding to other current NSIPs. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Spray. Councillor Staines, do you have a question, please?
Question relating to Wethersfield. Would the leader agree with me that last week's decision in the High Court to allow the judicial review of multiple aspects of the Home Office use of Wethersfield shows how much more effective we can be as a district if we utilise all the resources available to us, officers and residents, in a common purpose? What factors would help identify future opportunities for collaboration between officers and resident groups and would enable them to start working together as quickly as possible?
That was in fact 3 questions, but I will allow on this occasion. Councillor Butland.
I think, Madam Chairman, it's one issue though, which I'm just trying. Clearly, I think there's been really good work which has been done from the council, local residents, the parish councils, etc. And I think that's something we would want to continue. On the issue of the judicial review, that really is something which now is in on the legal playing field, if I can put it that way through you, Madam Chairman. But clearly, in terms of how things might develop there, in both the short term and if the Home Office are successful in the longer term, is something that we will want to discuss. And the point I made in the letter to Robert Jenrick, there has to be a lot more consultation by the Home Office with local residents on the issues and challenges that this brings. And we will make sure we continue to work together.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. My next question, Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman, sorry. I'm proud that my first question asked at this council will be on a topic very close to my heart, chewing gum. The streets of Bocking South, Madam Chair, I am told, were once paved with gold. Indeed, Golden Elmhurst Avenue looked like a veritable yellow brick road. Now our roads are filled with potholes, which I'm very grateful to the member for Bocking Blackwater for her assistance in fixing. But our streets are still covered in chewing gum, so I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member for Transformation, Environment and Customer Services what he is doing, the Council is doing, to clean up our streets from the scourge of chewing gum.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards.
Well, I thank Councillor Edwards for his question, and again welcome him to full council. And we're delighted to remind colleagues that we were very successful as a council in bidding for additional funding to pay for equipment to deal with just that, the scourge of chewing gum. And we're delighted that this new equipment will be arriving at the end of July. In the first instance, it will be used in our 3 main town centres, and then we'll be looking. Our operational team will be looking to use it elsewhere across the district, including the rural areas. This is a really welcome addition to our equipment and to our service provision, and we were delighted to secure the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Heath, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I leave my question is to Councillor Bowers. It's in response to the Play and Resource Centre at Great Knotty Park, and there are a number of families within my ward that did use that facility and have been greatly affected by its loss. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of misinformation about, and with me being new to the council as well, I wonder if he could give us a concise answer as to where it's going now, as I believe that there have been parents and supporters that have come forward to try to bring it back into running, and hopefully the council can bring it back, as it's been brought to my attention that it's a very massive district. Thank you.
Before I invite a response, could I just go to Councillor Bowers, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Obviously, I didn't know that question was going to be asked. I know it's Councillor Bowers, but as Deputy Cabinet Member on County in Children's Services, Park has come under that service. So I'm just declaring that I am Deputy Cabinet Member, but obviously won't be involved in the answer or anything else, but just the sake of transparency.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bowers, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Hay, for your question. Yes, the main role that BDC have in this issue with Park Essex is as the landlord of the property, and to that end, we are working proactively with the trustees at Park with regards to the surrender of their lease of the building, and look forward to having that building open for use by children with special needs for the summer. To that end, we are working with Essex County Council to bring that forward to determine the best process. But going back to what I was saying, our role is as landlord, which we are looking at surrendering the lease, but we are working with Essex County Council for all the reasons that you raised to your question to bring it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I've got a slightly different question to the member responsible for planning. It's a different question, also on the Norwich to Tilbury pylon scheme. given what Councillor Spray has already said, I assume we can very much assume that the Council will be responding to the non-statutory consultation. And given what you helpfully said earlier on, can you say a little bit more on the focus of the Council's response in terms of reservations or objections, and particularly do we envisage it will come before the Local Plan Committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor Spray.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Walsh, for your question. Officers, together with myself and other members, are in the process of drafting our response to the consultation. Our focus will be, well, at least in part, on what I spoke a little earlier, which is on the lack of, we see it as a whole consultation on the various options, including undersea. I can't give any more detail at the moment on what else might be in our response. I would say, I don't know for certain, but I would think it's extremely likely that it will come to the Local Plan Subcommittee, at least for consideration by members. But I will check and response back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spray. Could I invite Councillor Prime, please, to ask a question?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question's already been asked, so Councillor Bowers has given answer to it. Thank you.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you very much. Could I invite Councillor Williams, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question tonight is for the Cabinet Member for Communities relating to the Community Grants Fund. Firstly, I'm thankful that this has been awarded to all the councillors, but I wonder if he can give a brief sort of idea on what councillors have used this grant for before in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your question, Councillor Williams. Yes, I too, and I'm sure all members are very pleased that we've been able to retain the community grant. I know we had a black hole to fill, and there was a concern that maybe community grant would be affected, but thankfully not. So, good question. What have they been used for in the past? Right, whistle stop. A whole range of things supported by one member or a whole group of members. Things like a fridge for Whittam Luncheon Club, I remember, vacuum cleaners for the Whittam Hub. Larger projects have been Bocking Brass Band had a 50th anniversary and they wanted to do a commemoration CD. Community grants paid for that.
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you speak in this direction, please?
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
Community grants paid for that. Smaller ones, parish councils have provided community notice boards. In my district, we've done sports awards to different groups for digital scoreboards. Many of the sports clubs, when they get into better leagues, have to provide digital scoring. And then I have got one at the moment, which is the biggest one that I'm aware of, is 12 members putting together for a heritage application in Braintree. So hopefully that gives everybody an idea of the wide variety of applications that have come in and that our residents have benefited from. And if I could just finally politely remind members, I noticed that there's a lot of the community grant guidance books still in the pigeonholes. They are really useful because it is very well set out, all the pros and cons and what you can and can't apply for. So I really urge members to check the pigeonholes. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. Cunningham. Councillor Diamond, could I invite you to speak, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given that higher interest rates are leading to vastly increased mortgage payments and rents, hurting those who can least afford it, what plans and resources has the Council put in place to tackle a rise in homelessness throughout the district? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Diamond. Councillor Balsford?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Regarding homelessness, this council has got an extremely good record on homelessness, one that this council and previous councillors, when I wasn't here and when I was here, is one of the best in the county. So we will carry on basically doing all we can to prevent homelessness and carry on the excellent record that we've always had. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wright, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If all the 58,000 households that currently use the green bin service subscribe to the pay for this service, then VDC will be increasing their revenue base by 3.2 million. This service currently costs the ratepayer 683,000, or approximately £12 per household for the people who use this service. So why are the residents being asked to pay £55 for this service? Is BDC planning to make a large profit, or do they expect only 22% of the households, 12,500 in total, to take up the offers? Is the green bin charging policy in line with the current Essex County Council campaign expenditure in leafleting and providing every household with 3 liner bins to encourage more people to recycle food waste? Surely there must be an expectation that some residents will put garden waste into their grey bins, thus negating the Essex County Council scheme to decrease organic waste in the grey bin waste system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Can I invite Councillor Butland to answer this question?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Wright, for the question. The first thing I need to point out is, of course, that the green waste collection isn't something which stands on its own. The purpose of looking at whether we should make a charge for a non-statutory service, in other words, a service which this council is not obliged to deliver, is to help us, and I assume Councillor Wright will have looked at the financial situation, that there is a potential £2 million gap in this council's medium-term financial strategy over the next 2 years. In terms of the charge, £55, £27.50, of course, if people were to take advantage of the early bird sign-up. It is very reasonable compared against the average East Anglian charge of £59.33. And I would say, Madam Chairman, I would advise Councillor Wright to have a look tomorrow at Huntingdonshire Council. Huntingdonshire Council is run by what is known as a joint alliance. It's a joint alliance which was formed last year. It consists of the Independents, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats, and the Green Party. And incidentally, the Cabinet Member for Climate and Environment in that is one Councillor Laura Davenport-Day, who is the Green Party person in that Cabinet. And they will tomorrow be considering a paper to introduce charges for green waste collection at the sum of £57.50. And if he reads their paper, he will see the reason perhaps why they're a little bit more than us is that they have an £8.1 million deficit. So I have no problem with people opposing this, but you have to come forward, Councillor Wright, with ways in which you and your colleagues would bridge that gap. And to date, I have not heard a whisper, Madam Chairman, about how that would take place.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Could I invite Councillor Hayes, please, to ask his question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I ask the Cabinet Member responsible for an update on the Maltings Lane Community Centre, as I know this will become a much-used resource for the residents of Witton? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowers? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Hayes, for your question. The authority or the Cabinet and Council was very proud to bring forward the project of Maltings Lane Community Centre from the Cabinet meeting of May 22, and we've been working very closely to bring it to fruition. I'm very pleased that a planning application has now been submitted for the community centre, and currently, in regards operating it going forward, we are working closely with partners. We're exploring all options. We are in the final stages with a potential partner, and hopefully we will be able to progress that within the coming weeks, and we will be able to update further. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bowers. Could I invite, please, Councillor Thorogood to ask his question?
Thank you, Chairman. I think this will be for Councillor Spray. It's a real problem of HGVs using country lanes instead of the main trunk roads to access building sites and development sites, some of which are housing, which would come under Braintree, but some are on other sites which would come under Essex. I just wondered, it's quite a cumbersome process in reporting these lorries, so I would hope to find a way to improve that with enforcement. But also I just wondered if the Cabinet member was aware of new statutory powers for local authorities to enforce weight limits when they exist, instead of having to rely on the police because they aren't really interested or don't have the resources. It's possible now, I've been told by a highways engineer who lives in my area that
I have to ask you to hurry along with
it
your
is
question,
possible,
please.
and I just wondered if Braintree could look at that.
Thank you, Councillor Thorogood. Councillor Spray.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank Councillor Thorogood for his question. It's largely a county council matter. I have actually very recently, in fact last week, attended my first meeting as a representative on the local highways panel, which is chaired by Councillor Siddall, county councillor. So I will speak to him about it. I'm not aware of the specifics of the legislation that he talks about. I know it is quite possible to have quiet lane status, which does help. Of course, you do have to allow HGVs some access sometimes to businesses. It's not reasonable to stop them having access altogether. But I will find out a little more about the process and I will provide an answer to Councillor Thorogood in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got less than 5 minutes left for this item and I have 2 more people, so if you could make it concise, please. Councillor Ramage.
Thank you, Chair. May I wish you well in your new role. My query is regarding car parking, in particular ticket machine car parks, where there seems to be a trend going on regarding Wi-Fi, sort of, and my concern is there's a lot of elderly people out there who don't have mobile phones, so how are they going to use the machines? And I just want to find out from the officer, the person responsible for this area, to find out what is Braintree doing. Are they going to go in this way, or are we going to still use cash or card as a way of paying for our car parking? Because it is of concern as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Councillor Ramage.
Madam Chairman, we have, as part of the North Essex Parking Partnership, which is a partnership which includes us, Colchester, Uttlesford, Epping Forest and Tendring, and Harlow, I believe, as well, have been working towards a cashless ticket machine system in our public car parks for some time. With regard to the specific concerns he raises involving people who aren't familiar with the My Permit scheme, I will clarify where we are in terms of offering provision for those who have difficulty with the My Permit and My Pay system, and I will respond accordingly and give them a written answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Bond, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not sure, and I apologise, I don't know which member of the administration will respond to this, but I'm asking what is the council doing or planning to do to coordinate and support the parishes in the Colne Valley with climate change activities as part of the Colne Valley Climate Focus Area. The Valley is a large geographical area of the district, and a lot could be learned to support the council actions on climate change from a whole area combined effort. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you very much, and I thank Councillor Bond for his question, and again welcome him to full council. My understanding is that this authority has representatives who sit on the area of outstanding natural beauty, including the Colne Valley and the Stour Valley. Our climate change action plan, which was agreed in the last administration, is under review. And what we will be doing is, well before the end of this calendar year, we're bringing an update on the climate change strategy and the action plan to Cabinet. But with regard to specific initiatives in the area that he refers to, I will discuss with officers and give him a written answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Mason, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The government recently responded favourably
to a proposed policy which was scrapping hope value. As far as I'm aware, the proposed legislation is currently with the Lords, who are putting the government under pressure to change this back, not to allow it. Shelter are requesting that local governments write to Michael Gove in support of scrapping hope policy. I wish to put the following question. Would this council support the scrapping of hope value and make their view known in a letter to Mr Gove?
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Thank you. Councillor Bowes-Flint, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm afraid I will have to give the member a written answer on that and copy it to everybody else to see our state of how we are on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bowes-Flint. Thank you, members. That concludes this item. Any question requiring a written response will be answered within 10 working days of this meeting and shared with all members. We will now deal with Agenda Item 7, issues affecting the district. Members, I will invite Councillor Butland, Leader of the Council, shortly to commence this item. However, before doing so, I would like to update members on the procedure we will follow this evening. Members, since the publication of the report on page 5 of the agenda, group leaders have confirmed they are happy to proceed with the standard debate process. Therefore, group leaders will not be called in turn as set out in the report. Rather, they will be entitled to indicate if they wish to speak alongside all other members. Those members wishing to speak will be invited to speak in an order at my discretion. Members will only be able to speak once during this item, except Councillor Butland, who has a right of reply at the close of the debate. Members will be expected to speak for no longer than 3 minutes speeches, and if necessary, I will curtail excessive speeches. Members may not move motions during the debate. I will now invite Councillor Butland to commence the speeches. Thank you, Councillor Butland.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, it's been custom in this council at the first business meeting of any new administration to have this type of debate, which enables members, both old and new, to raise issues affecting the district, which might be particular to their ward or might be across the whole district. And it's particularly important this year because every 4 years, as a council, we produce a new corporate strategy. And the new corporate strategy for the Braintree district will come in, the current strategy ends at March 2024, and therefore we will be in the process this year of devising a new strategy to take us through to 2028. And that strategy will be developed in partnership with residents, businesses and other stakeholders. We're very proud, Madam Chairman, of the progress we've made delivering the current strategy. And a key factor in making this has been the support we've received from our partners, residents and businesses. That's why we want them to be involved in shaping the future of this district through the consultation on priorities for the new strategy and, of course, the views of elected members. The plan is not one from this side alone. Madam Chairman, this week we will launch the corporate strategy consultation, encouraging residents and businesses within the district to have their say on what they think our priorities should be for the next 4 years. The past decade, Madam Chairman, has seen a change in the role of local government and in the way it is funded. As I've mentioned earlier this evening, our budgets are shrinking and we're also seeing an increase in the cost of providing services. So the budget position, together with rising expectations, means gaining feedback on the district's priorities for the next 4 years are crucial. The consultation, which will be promoted through a number of different channels, the BDC website, press releases, social media, email, e-newsletters, the council page in the local newspapers. And we will also work through third-party channels such as parish councils, community groups and partners. I hope to, and also all members will receive an email link in the next few days with the online survey, and printed copies will also be available on request. I hope, Madam Chairman, that tonight will be an opportunity for members on all sides of the chamber to begin to start to put the things into the list that we need to be considering and which are thought to be important for the district as we plan our strategy towards 2028. I'm not going to say anything else at this stage, Madam Chairman, but I look forward to listening to the comments of members.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. I will now open the debate to all members. Please indicate by raising your hand. With the assistance of governance, I will make a list. Please keep your hand raised until acknowledged. Thank you. Okay, I think we've got everyone there. I will start with... thank you. I'll start with Councillor Coleridge, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One area that has the most dramatic impact on our district is housing development, and I anticipate this will be a popular theme within the agenda item today. Most will agree that providing new houses to our future generations is important, but balance needs to be preserved to ensure infrastructure is in place for our growing communities. With this in mind, I believe the Council's role in securing Section 106 agreements is critical, and the value, timescales and scope is continuously monitored to ensure the effectiveness and impact is maintained. Within my own ward, it is pleasing to see some new facilities being installed in the Strutt Memorial Ground in Hatfield Peveril, including an outdoor gym, updated children's equipment and tennis courts. This has had significant contributions from Section 106 monies, and I'm sure that it will have positive effects on the well-being of the residents within the ward. I welcome the engagement that different parish councils within my ward have had with officers at Braintree District Council to bring appropriate projects forward for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coleridge. So, Councillor Abbott, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I welcome this debate. I'd like to split my 3 minutes into two, please, one on local, one on a district-wide issue. On a local issue, I'm going to talk about Silver End Village, a village which myself and Councillor Wright are very proud to represent and have just been re-elected to do so myself now for 24 years continuously. But although we've had some very welcome engagement with officers recently, progress on delivering for the village is too slow. And I know all the Cabinet members here, some of them will have heard these things before, and that, I think, emphasises how slow it is. Silver End Conservation Area Guide. Councillor Spray, I'm sure, his heart sinking into her boots as I say it, but when are we going to get a timetable for its delivery? Is that so difficult to tell the local members in the community when we will have a timetable? People keep asking us, as they did this week. The current guide is now 24 years old, it's out of date. We've tried to help a preschool in the village, which currently rents BDC property with some outdoor space. Officers so far have been unable to help us. Surely we can help a preschool, which is so important for the future. The doctor's surgery, a BDC-owned building, needs expansion urgently. The population of the village is growing fast. Again, we've had meetings, but there's nothing definite yet on moving forward on that. Section 106, previous member just mentioned. Silver End has substantial amounts of Section 106 money due to be spent. We had a very good meeting with officers recently, which I welcome, but again, we need to get on and actually start delivering. The old factory site could be a golden opportunity to deliver housing, community facilities, and hopefully some parking for the village centre. Again, conversations, but nothing moving. I regard, and Councillor Wright shares this view, that we are concerned that too much of the emphasis has been on Braintree and Great Notley in delivering projects and not enough for the villages. The second issue I want to discuss relates to climate change and recycling. All areas need to do their bit, yet the Conservatives are actively planning in Braintree District to charge for garden waste collections. And the result of that, and I don't believe this has been communicated at all to residents, is that the anticipation is that the percentage of households using the green bins will crash by between 60% and 80% over 3 years. Overall recycling rates are expected to drop by between 8% and 12%. And Councillor Butland said that £55 was reasonable. He didn't say that in the papers, which I've read very carefully, it's talking about it incrementally going up to 60% in the second year, £60 in the second year and £65 in the third year. Yes, residents may be able to do more at-home composting and rewilding, and that's all very excellent. But Braintree District Council's recycling schemes are very mature. The green bin collections and the dry recycling have been going for very many years. And surely such a collapse in the collection rate will mean more organic waste going to landfill, and that will increase emissions.
I have to ask you to hurry along, please.
Through carbon dioxide and methane. Councillor Butland says the opposition's not coming up with any options. Well, we weren't really ever given the opportunity. Cabinet discussed 3 options: keep it as it is, scrap it, or put £55 in. I would request that this council has an all-party, all-member debate on the future for green bins and how we can tie that in with being a more progressive in terms of financial council and also environmental responsibility.
Councillor Abbott, I'm going to have to stop you.
To help tackle climate change.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dervish.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I am proud and honoured to be able to announce the launch of Turling Football Club. The club was officially opened on the 8th of July, inviting initially 4 and 5-year-olds, with this due to expand to welcome all ages and abilities. This has been a huge achievement by all volunteers involved. I'm confident this will now also have the support of our council under our Live Well and Wellbeing strategy, along with the FA, Essex County Council and with local residents. This club has received overwhelming support from other local grassroots clubs, and it's been amazing to see local communities come together. We wish Turling Football Club all the best for its future, and of course, you're very welcome at the club, especially for those that want to sign up for the Vets team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dervish. I'd like to invite Councillor Jeffries, please, to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So, following on from what Councillor Abbott has said, and also from what I said at the Cabinet meeting last week, we are concerned, and also the residents of Braintree, I think, are going to be concerned about what we do with our waste. And Councillor Butland mentioned all the ways that we can communicate with our residents, and I think it's going to be very, very important to be able to communicate the plans to our residents, particularly the 50% discount, the way it's going to work, how we're going to know if it continues, if the bins, which ones are paid for and which ones are not paid for. I did also wonder whether there was a way that we could encourage more composting. I remember some years ago the County Council offered compost bins at a reduced price. Also, I did just wonder whether we could do something reusing those green bins that people no longer wanted, either as residents or as a council, and maybe we could turn them into some compost bin. Maybe it's something that some entrepreneurs could take up. But I just think it's going to be one of those things that is concerning to the rest of the district, including our community groups and our schools. Will they be getting the charge as well? So I just think it's something we need to consider, and I welcome what Councillor Abbott said too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Taylor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Very proud to be elected to this council with this Conservative administration. I'd like to pay tribute to outgoing councillors Weeks and Hicks for their work. They were well regarded in our community. Very proud, Madam Chair, that we've exceeded our target of delivering affordable housing, 288 out of 250. It's a commendable effort. That leads me on to the issue of Wethersfield. We've got 1,700 people potentially coming into the borough. I'd like to, and I've raised this with Dan Gaskell and I've raised it with cabinet members as well, are we going to safeguard our nomination rights? Basildon, when it was a Labour-run council, stated you had to live in the borough for 7 years before you could qualify for a council home. In my old borough, where I was a councillor in Havering, it's 6 years. So I'd like to think this council might, if I have a better understanding of it myself, I need to do some homework, but if we secure our nomination rights to ensure that local people with true, long-standing connections to this district have priority, and that people that haven't just moved in to the borough get preference, that would be an injustice to the people of this district. And I think that leads me on to the point around Eastlight. I'd like to see this council putting Eastlight more pressure on them to deal with things like damp homes. I'm receiving complaints on those matters, and to make sure that grass cutting and that the public realm areas are maintained properly. In regards to Valley Green, I've had meetings with Valley Green Football Club. I think it's an opportunity to give them a permanent home when Bellway come forward with their Phase 4 development. So really proud to work with them. Rickstone's recreational ground. It's the second year in a row we've had gypsy travellers break into that area. I'd like to think that this council, I'd like to work with members and officers to ensure that we secure that wreck so this doesn't happen for a third time. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Could I invite Councillor Finken, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to raise the issue of the relationship between the District Council and the two town councils in the district, and also to a certain extent the parish councils as well. Over the last couple of years, Braintree District Council has introduced regular meetings with the two town councils in Witham and Halstead to discuss matters of mutual concern. The meetings have been welcomed by both town councils, and they're pleased that the leader of the council has indicated that these meetings will continue during the current council term. The two town councils understand that the District Council is looking for ways to reduce its expenditure as a result of the sustained reductions in support for local government by the Conservative government. As part of this strategy, the District Council has made proposals to transfer the management and possibly ownership of community assets to the town councils. However, I'm sure that the leader would agree that the town and indeed parish councils also have a responsibility to protect the interests of their residents. They're wanting to take over more facilities and more amenities, but they're concerned that there will be too high a risk to their own finances if they were to take on these assets without any financial support from the District Council, and too high a percentage increase in their precepts would be required to undertake their management and maintenance. They also question the equity of the proposals between Braintree Town and Brocking residents, who don't pay any extra for the management and maintenance of their parks and playing fields, and the rest of the district, where residents would effectively be paying twice for those across the district and again for those in their own areas. In the past, when Braintree District Council assets were transferred to town and parish councils, for example, parish and community halls, there was often a legacy payment attached to the transfer, but no such legacy payment has been proposed in these cases. I understand that both Witham and Halstead Town Councils are willing to continue to discuss these matters at future meetings, and I'd like to ask the leader at the end of the debate whether any agreement on these issues will depend on a comprehensive analysis of costs, risks and opportunities by all the parties involved, and that a constructive and imaginative approach by both town councils and the District Council would be required to take these issues and other important issues forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Finken. Could I invite Councillor Wrench, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll be speaking on the matter of health this evening, and for so long we have shared frustrations in this chamber with increasing wait times for GPs and even longer for hospital appointments. Therefore, I would like to share my delight that a community diagnostic centre is being built in Braintree, which will support residents across the district. A drop-in event on the 20th of July has been organised in Braintree Town Hall, and residents will be able to drop into the event organised by the Mid and South Essex NHS Foundation Trust to get information on the project and speak to health and care representatives regarding the services the centre will offer. The centre's aim is to support increased diagnosis and access to tests and scans closer to home. The Braintree Community Diagnostic Centre is expected to open in summer 2024 and will offer a range of tests including CT scans, blood tests, ultrasounds, MRI scans and heart and lung tests to the local community. It will support all non-emergency diagnostics and will certainly be welcome. If any member or member of the public would like details of the next engagement event, as I said, it will be on the 20th of July between 6 and 8 p.m. in Braintree Town Hall. Residents can take advantage of these drop-in opportunities, as I believe there will be more in the future, to learn more about the community diagnostic centres. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Wrench. I certainly intend to visit that drop-in centre myself. Thank you. Could I invite Councillor Staines, please?
Our local plan is under constant attack. I'll talk about how increasing the district's tourism and leisure efforts can support our local plan and help see off existential threats by enhancing the district's image to its residents, Essex, the wider UK and even the world. The district's growth strategy is focused almost exclusively on its location between places outside the district, linked mainly by roads through the district, and its enthusiasm to take many new homes. The road-based approach has enabled the occupation of thousands of new houses, with many more planned or granted on appeal, but rather than lower council taxes, it's led to an increase and a reduction for many in their quality of living. The industrialisation of our district's rural fabric includes the UK's second largest incinerator at Rivenhall, now allowed to import waste by road from outside Essex, unplanned central government activity at Wethersfield to take asylum or prisoners, miles from any asylum-granted dispersal accommodation or national centres of crime, and thousands of unplanned homes. These examples all undermine our local plan. The positive impact and potential of our heritage tourism and leisure sector to achieve substantial growth and help defend the local plan is not currently measured or coordinated, and that leaves rural villages vulnerable to threats from well-resourced industrialisers to promote business cases that show a benefit to others and an acceptable cost to our residents. An increased focus by this district to understand, value and promote its heritage and natural leisure assets will allow it to realise the sector's potential and take steps to help resist pressure from those that cover our fields and villages by challenging the rationale to upgrade our roads to take heavier and bigger vehicles and resist inappropriate, unplanned, road-dependent rural housing. The Council has agency to shape and develop its own rural tourism and leisure sector to deliver more sustainable economic and social benefit, support the local plan and further enhance Braintree District's image to the world, capitalising on events like the successful Tour de France and Ride London, in contrast to the asylum, prisons, incinerator and unplanned housing which come from the outside and in most cases we all oppose. Waysigning these places from the ever busier A roads and showcasing their suitability for a range of tourist and leisure pursuits will support sustainable economic growth, numerous local businesses and prompt tourism and leisure heritage-friendly inward investment. Establishing world-class tourist routes in the district will encourage and distribute leisure traffic and restrict non-target traffic and development that would otherwise undermine or damage these unique places and impede their capability to generate optimal homegrown economic and social benefit and boost Braintree District's appeal globally. Supporting the UNESCO World Heritage status bid for Finchinfield will also boost this council, as it will be unique within the East of England and potentially one of less than 1,000 cultural sites globally.
Thank you, Councillor Staines. Could I invite Councillor Van Dalken, please?
Just on point of order, Madam Chairman, and so we don't get ourselves into trouble, would Councillor Staines just like to think whether he should declare an interest, given his business?
Councillor Staines, would you like to consider that request?
Sorry, can you clarify, Chair, what the issue is, what potential issue?
Councillor Butler has raised a point of order.
Yep.
in relation to your business.
Which is a leisure business, yep.
To ask if you would like to make a declaration of interest. Would you like to consider that and respond?
I'll do that in writing after this meeting. We need to waste time now.
Councillor Staines, if you have an interest in an item that you've raised at this meeting, you should declare it as part of the meeting. So if you have an interest, I'd invite you to do so. If you haven't, that's a matter for you.
I guess I have an interest. As we all do.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
A point of order, Councillor Abbott?
Isn't it up to members to decide whether to declare, and not for leaders of the council to impose on members whether they should declare? And secondly, Councillor Staines did discuss with me prior, and I advised him to talk in very general terms about the issue, not specific to his business or indeed his specific community, and I think he successfully did that.
Madam Chairman, I was only trying to stop a new member falling foul and a complaint being made through the process which Councillor Abbott likes to make. I was just giving an opportunity for the member to make that declaration now, therefore not incurring any further action.
Thank you very much. Councillor Butland. I think Councillor Staines has addressed the issue now, and I'm happy to proceed. Thank you very much. Could I invite Councillor Van Dulcombe, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to address the Council this evening about a very worthy concept of which many members will be aware, the Essex Shed Network of men's sheds, of which there are 28 either open or in development across Essex, in addition to others such as in Civil Headingham, which are independent or part of other groups. As colleagues will be aware, men's sheds are places where, or which, amongst other benefits, help improve the mental health and well-being of mainly men who do not tend to socialise as well as women, especially in later years, and particularly after the long and difficult periods of isolation during the COVID pandemic. There are several men's sheds open or planned in Braintree District, and as the ward member for Yeldham, I welcome an opportunity to highlight the project in Great Yeldham, housed in two very well kitted out shipping containers, and which last time I looked had an impressive 72 members, plus the total support of the parish council and some local businesses. Regrettably, this particular project has been delayed for planning reasons, but I and many others in the area are very much hoping that pragmatism and goodwill can prevail at planning department and planning committee levels, and that the procedural speed bumps can be smoothed over during coming few months, so that a valuable local resource can be allowed to operate and help reduce rural isolation, help improve the mental health of residents, do its bit with recycling by reusing and repairing, and contribute generally to levelling up in North Braintree. All these are aims of our council and of Essex County Council. Finally, I look forward to suggesting that you, Madam Chairman, visit the facility when it's open and operating. Thank you.
I'd be delighted. Thank you, Councillor Van Dulcombe. Could I invite Councillor Walsh, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to raise an issue that I think concerns perhaps a number of historic villages and town centres. It includes Coggeshall. That's the question of number of vacant, if not run-down, shops and the economic pressure to convert them to housing. I am aware that one prominent site in Coggeshall has recently gone from vacant to professional services, but not to retail. I wonder if the planning system could be more proactive in bringing old industrial premises back into any form of effective use, such as the very prominent Hollington site in Coggeshall, where perhaps a planning forum could be used to encourage an application. And lastly, I wonder if there are other members in this chamber in their community who might also be concerned at these threats to our heritage, e.g. the economic viability of our shops, which are at the heart of so many of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Could I please invite Councillor Ball, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to speak really about our infrastructure network. With the inevitable pressure on local roads in our town centres that comes with additional large construction sites, local people deserve some respite from unnecessary heavy traffic. HGVs using standard car sat navs colliding with bridges or becoming stuck on narrow roads cause damage, frustration and delays. The motion approved and passed by our elected partners at Essex County Council just over a week ago is to be applauded. This motion called on central government to work with the sat-nav companies to remove byways, byroads and similar roads from their systems. If adopted, this could at least ease some of the congestion caused. I'd like to widen that out, really. It would be good if, as a council, we could find novel ways in which to match the needs for an efficient infrastructure system with the needs of the people living along those routes, and also our very valuable built heritage. Some of the areas, I must declare an interest. I live on one of the roads affected, Church Lane, the whole of Church Lane, Church Street, and Bradford Street, and beyond there. And there are many other areas where they are on a main route, but there seems to be no ways of matching the needs of the local people with the needs of the transport system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Could I invite Councillor Schwer, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd briefly like to raise three issues in Sybil Hedingham, really. One is the Riverwalk, which is a public right-of-way footpath from the development of Bloor Homes in Sybil Hedingham. And there's been much comment in the press and on social media over time about this. And of course, what's involved is Section 106 agreements and all the legal inferences. I think it's really interesting to note that the officers have been really tenacious about this. And I'm delighted that they are working towards finding a solution using Section 106 from other developments that will hopefully result in that river footpath being completed within a few months. And again, the tenacious and attitude of our officers, I think, and the good work that they are doing to bring that to completion is to be noted. Also, the bank building that was going to be given over under Section 106 agreements, again from parish towards the parish council. Again, this has been delayed for some time, and unfortunately, it still appears to be the case that the money that was due to be paid by Bloor Homes in order to facilitate that being handed over to the parish council as a community asset is not going to happen at the moment, because from my understanding is that they haven't paid their contribution, which I think is a great shame at this stage, considering how far the development is going. And the other one, of course, which is causing a lot of interest as well, is the doctor's surgery. Of course, this is wanted by so many people and residents in and around Sybil Hedingham, and its effect will outreach well into our rural communities as well. And as we know, this has been very much a One Medical Group discussion with the National Health Service. And although it's been ongoing, my understanding is that things are beginning to come together onto that, and that the business case should be coming together to a point of view of that it's going to be anticipated that building works may well happen before winter this year or sometime soon. So again, there's been lots of, I know, legal issues as well with the land and everything else. But again, it's been really good to know that so much has been happening here in Sybil Hedingham behind the scenes. So overall, I welcome what has been happening, regardless of the social media, but also I know that this council will pursue all of those for the benefit of all those residents. And of course, the doctors have been taking appropriate action to extend their current arrangements for the building of that building as well. So I just wanted to say, assure that we are going to help deliver all of those in this administration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shreer. I'd like to invite Councillor Thorogood, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to talk about the Rivenall incinerator, and I welcome most of the response from Braintree to the application for a DCO to increase the electricity output from 49 megawatts to 60, I believe. Sorry, I think there's a point of order.
I'm sorry, do you wish to say something, Councillor Balsflint?
Madam Chairman, I think, as Councillor Thorogood is well aware, I am a member of DNR committee who make decisions on that.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. Councillor Thorogood, would you like to continue, please?
Yes, I'm also a member of that, but I'm deemed predetermined on the incinerator. So
thank you.
When it comes before the committee at Essex, I can't vote on it.
Thank you. That's duly noted.
Thank you. So why I support the council's stance on the DCO application is just in the quote at the very end from Councillor Spray. She says, whilst we are against the application, we can't do anything about it, and we want to do our best to sort of mitigate what's going to happen.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Councillor Thorogood. Councillor Cunningham, did you?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman. I'm sorry, Councillor Thorogood. No, I was just indicating to speak in the debate. My apologies.
Okay, I'm very sorry to have interrupted you again, Councillor Carroll. Please continue.
So yeah, I just wanted to update that I think we should be taking, as a council, a stronger stance, because the situation is, Indeva, the builders of the incinerator, as you're probably aware, they had permission in 2010 to build the incinerator as a part of an integrated waste management facility. But as well as this DCO application, they're also looking to delete condition 66, which requires them to build other elements of the integrated waste management facility, which includes a paper pulping system, biofood waste system, composting, and also recycling, MBT, recycling mechanically and biological treatment. They don't want to do any of that, and they're actually, although they've got permission, the permission they've got is for that entirety, they're only building the incinerator element. Essex says, Dean, because they're not building something, they're not in breach of the planning regulations, but instead of building those elements, they're looking at doing some other things, which includes they've put in a partner to look at building 160 acres of greenhouses to grow tomatoes around the site and using heat of the site. But my point is, the application is now so different from the original that I wondered if the council would consider calling for either a new application to be made entirely, or at the very least a new EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, because the last one was, I think, started in 2008 before the application was heard. And things, obviously that is, now 15 years ago, and things have moved on greatly, and we know so much more about climate change, as you see in the news every day around Europe. The record temperatures are breaking every day. In fact, global temperatures broke 4 times in 6 days, whereas before it took 2 times in 6 years. We've all got this evidence in front of us that climate change is a massive issue, and this incinerator will be the single biggest emitter of CO2 in Essex. And just to give you a sense of scale, that if global emissions were a year in time, and the UK's emissions would be 3.5 days, and this incinerator would be 1/2 an hour of the global emissions in a year. So that just gives you a sense of perspective of how big it is. So what I'm asking is, would the council consider pushing for a new EIA?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thorogood. I've got two more speakers here. Councillor Cunningham, did you want to?
Thank you very much. I'd just like to speak briefly in response to a couple of the points made about garden waste. I thank both Councillor Abbott and Councillor Jeffries for their comments this evening, and I do say it's with a certain regret that no member of the Green and Independent group actually turned up to Cabinet last week. I appreciate the Leader of the Opposition.
Point of order.
Is away.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. By way of personal explanation, I was expecting this. I was in the north of England attending the graduation ceremony of a very close family member who's worked very hard to obtain her master's degree. I therefore could not attend Cabinet, but I would have done if I hadn't been at that event. And I would respectfully ask the Administrations Council if they could refrain in this term from what they've done in previous terms, for always trying to score personal points about members of this council. Sometimes there are reasons why we can't get to meetings.
Thank you,
Madam Chairman, I don't really want to spoil what's been a very useful and good-tempered discussion about issues affecting a district, but I say with great respect, personal respect to Councillor Abbott, there are more members of the group than just him, and one of the members of his group could have quite easily registered to speak in public question time. Very common in other authorities, the members of the opposition turn up in public question time to speak on specific issues. You should watch some Colchester webcasts. It happens pretty much every Cabinet meeting. But with regard to the serious points he does make about recycling, yes, I accept there will be a period of transition should this decision come to fruition, where the members of our district will have to opt in for a garden waste service, and it is expected that recycling levels in that first year will drop as a result of that process of transition. I have to say, Madam Chairman, despite the call-in period not being completely finished as yet, I am generally pleasantly surprised that members of the public have phoned up customer services of this authority asking how they go about collecting a garden waste bin. I think we have to see this in the round and realise there are different views, and there is perhaps a greater acceptance amongst some of the public to the reasons behind this service, and a will to opt into this service, and an appreciation that just suddenly, because a non-statutory service is no longer free, that somehow residents of this district will take to fly tipping or a complete contempt for dealing with waste appropriately. I think we have to be very careful about scaremongering, and I think we have to behave responsibly and also communicate this responsibility. But the key essence of this, as Councillor Jeffries referred to, is good communication, advising, informing our residents well. And every opportunity, should this decision come to fruition, will be explored to ensure that takes place. I note her comments about working with Essex County Council and advice and guidance on composting. That's certainly something we'll be very happy to take up as active members of the Essex Waste Partnership, which will now be chaired by Councillor Schwer in another capacity, and I can assure her and other members that all opportunities to promote recycling, composting will be explored, working with others and through our own initiatives as well. And thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. I'd like to invite Councillor Edwards, please, to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add my voice to the words of the member for Witham North earlier, celebrating the fact that in this district we built 288 new affordable homes last year, well ahead of our 250 target. That's 288 families that otherwise might not have had a home had certain members of the party opposite had their way with their opposition to those developments. Whilst national house building is down, Braintree District Council continues to remain a beacon of home ownership. Now, if I could urge the Council to just take two things into consideration. One, that when we build beautiful. Just because it is a new development does not mean that it has to be ugly. And two, that we ensure that the right infrastructure goes in. I know that another councillor earlier referred to the need for NHS services being under strain, and I would add my voice to that. We must make sure that these new communities are properly supported. New homes don't just benefit new residents, they benefit existing residents. Earlier this year, in fact, this council gave a £25 rebate to all council taxpayers thanks to the new home bonus. By way of conclusion, Madam Chair, if I could just say, in 2021-22, Braintree District Council built 417 affordable homes. Independent-run Uttlesford built just 45. That is a Conservative administration delivering for local families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I don't have anybody else wishing to speak. Could I just check that Councillor Spray?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just, if I may, want to respond to a few comments that have been made. First, to Councillor Abbott, the Silver End Conservation Guide. Well, no, my heart didn't sink when you mentioned it. I know it's been a long time in the making. I do also know that both you and Councillor Wright have been kept updated by officers on this, and it is in progress, the update, Madam Chairman. I can't remember precisely, so I will find out where we are with it, but I know that Place Services at County have, I believe, finished their part of the work, and we were now looking at consultation with ward members, parish council and local groups. I think that's where we're at. It is ongoing. With regards to the old factory site, I had a conversation only last week with the relevant corporate director, and I believe that he had made both Councillors Abbott and Wright aware of a positive development on that site. I don't know the details myself because I've not been involved. It hasn't got to planning application stage, anything like that. But my understanding is that both ward members were made aware of that. Councillor Van Dalken, men's sheds. Yes, Chairman, I know about this scheme. I'm talking nationally, generally now. I know about it very well. I'm a big supporter of it. It's an excellent thing to be involved in. I am not going to comment on the specific scheme because it is subject to current planning enforcement process, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment, but officers have it in hand. Councillor Walsh talked about the vacant and rundown premises in villages and the sort of push for them to be turned into housing. I know that that's happened. I mean, there are a couple of instances in my own village in Earlscone. Obviously, when premises are in private ownership, we can't make owners stop them putting forward applications to turn them into housing. And it is not actually the responsibility of planning officers, however much they might want to, or members, to approach an owner and say, would you like to do such a thing? So it really is up to a private landowner to come forward if they want some advice and help. But we are aware of the situation. I mean, I think particularly with regard to pubs, public houses, we know that every week, I forget the number exactly, but every week a number of public houses, they close and they do quite often become housing. And it's sad, but it is the way the market is at the moment, I'm afraid. I think I'm finished. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Spray. Councillor Heath, I'd like to invite you to speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I didn't put my hand up at the beginning because I didn't know really what way this debate was going, being new to the council. But I found it extremely useful and informative, and I've got a list of about 8 things to follow up here. So I do thank members for all the points that they've raised, because I can't be the only one that doesn't really know what they're doing in this room. But I would like to say that before the 4th of May, there was very few councillors sitting on this side of the Cabinet, and I find it difficult to believe that they opposed all social housing in the district. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. I think it is, you're absolutely right. It is very difficult until you get your feet under the table, to understand how it all works. But in due course, I'm sure you'll get to understand how it all works. Thank you, members. If there are no other members who wish to contribute to the debate, I would like to invite Councillor Butland to exercise his right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to all those members who have taken part in the debate. As Councillor Heath has said, I think a lot of interesting points have come up there, and as we move towards the next 4 years in terms of through to 2028, there are a number that have been raised tonight that we will, I think, wish to consider. From this side, we made quite clear in our election manifesto that our 3 key priorities were sound financial management and quality services, and how do we get the right balance between that. Support for our communities and businesses, and I think we showed in the last administration the support that we are giving to our communities in what we recognise is a very difficult time. Not just, as was mentioned, the £25 rebate on the council tax, but the £1 million that's placed over the next 2 years to our voluntary sector to help them help those who are most in need, and also hopefully to ensure that they reach out from the urban areas into the rural areas as well. And our 3rd priority is planning policies and housing for the needs of our local residents. There is a national housing problem, not a problem, it's a crisis, and we have to play our part to handle that as well. Fortunately, in terms of homelessness, as Councillor Lynette Byles-Flint said, we are not a major area, but clearly we are becoming an area which people want to come to live. And that will be a challenge for all of us, and I hope we won't see too much NIMBYism when we do that. On a couple of particular points, Councillor Abbott mentioned about a thought that all the resources were going to Braintree, and he always adds Great Notley, which I suppose, Madam Chairman, is his way of trying to get at me. Good job I'm not too personal about these things. But can I just say, to my knowledge, the only investment in Great Notley has been Horizon 120. And that is a development which this side of the chamber, and I know some members the other side of the chamber, are extremely proud of. It is bringing potentially up to 2,000 jobs into the district. I can assure, through you, Madam Chairman, I can assure Councillor Abbott, didn't go down without problems with our local constituents who rather wanted just the green fields, despite the fact that, of course, it had been laid in the local plan as employment there. But really good stuff going on there. Care, British Offsite, Essex X-Ray, really modern, leading industries going there, and I'm really pleased. And of course, those 2,000 jobs aren't going to come from Great Notley. They're going to provide employment for the whole of the district and people living in all our wards, including that of Councillor Abbott. Councillor Finkin raised 2 important issues. One, the link with the district council and the 2 town councils. Yes, I reiterate the point that we wish to keep regular meetings going. I think what we're talking about is devolution, that there is stuff which is done here, which I think could be done better locally, but it will need to be, Madam Chairman, a mutual consent to do it. There's no forcing people to do it. But on the other hand, if town councils want to play an important role, and I think as devolution goes through, that may well happen, then they're going to have to be prepared to step up on occasions to do it. Sometimes if you're going to take something on, there is a risk. But as Councillor Finkin says, you have to balance the risk and see what's going to be done. He also raised the interesting point about the areas of Bocking and Braintree and the fact that they are not parished. That's something I'm very happy to look at. If Councillor Finkin can deliver, Councillor Jeffries, Councillor Thorogood, Councillor Green, Councillor Mason, Councillor Diamond and Councillor Dayton, who are prepared to say to their electorate, we think you should have a parish council. We know you don't want one because you've never demonstrated it, but we think you should have a parish council. Oh, and by the way, you may need to pay more money. If Councillor Finkin can deliver his leader and his colleagues on that, we'll look at it. But I can assure him, from the little bit of Great Notley which is unparished, which we have on 3 or 4 occasions tried to get parished, that's the top end of London Road, by the way, it will be a battle. It will be a battle. And of course, people will have a right to decide. But I don't rule anything out. If that comes forward, we will certainly look at that. But I don't believe any of the councillors I've mentioned put it in their election address that that was something they were thinking of doing. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bolland. Members, this item now concluded, and as we have no further items of business to attend to this evening, I will formally close this meeting of full council. Thank you, members, for your attendance and participation. Please don't start closing everything away until I finish. Thank you. Thank you, members, for your attendance and participation at this evening's meeting, and to those watching via the Council's public eye portal. The recording of this meeting will be published on the Council's YouTube channel as soon as possible, and I will therefore close this meeting at 20:55. Thank you.